hopefully, I'm hoping that eyelash issue, Jesse. I can't say issue. It's issue. Issue. Actually turns into like the automatic thumbnail that YouTube
Right.
puts on. So there's like looks like you're putting in putting in your contact lens or something.
Right.
Using the camera to get it right in there. Yeah. We can only hope. Viewer, welcome. You haven't accidentally clicked on this for the before stuff. Welcome. It's awesome to have you here, viewer. And before I press record on the device here that records for the podcast, just want to introduce you to Jesse Elkins from Full Sun Fitness. It's Raleigh, isn't it? North Carolina?
So close. Charlotte, North Carolina.
Charlotte. I get so confused between both of those.
It's truly all the same.
Really?
I mean, pretty much. It's North Carolina as a whole. It's pretty similar everywhere you go.
Right. I just don't want to know like if there was like this Sydney, Melbourne,
right.
Kind of competition about like Berlin, Munich, who is the best in North Carolina.
None of that, at least for me, because I'm newer here, so I don't have that rivalry edge.
Like no time for that shit.
No time.
It's just Charlotte, right? And my nephew goes to university in North Carolina.
Really?
So yeah. Goes to Elon.
Interesting. Well, if he ever needs anything, we're here.
Yeah. Well, he's just like quite the accomplished hockey player.
Awesome.
Yeah. So it's like he does well. Business major and a hockey player. So yeah. Anyway, so that's all that's my connection to North Carolina. But Jesse, I'm thrilled that you can join me and the viewer here on YouTube for episode 14 of the podcast.
The number.
I know, right? So I don't know. Let's crack into it. So many good things to talk about on comparison.
Yes, let's do it.
Yeah. All right. So I'm pressing. I've pressed record here. Sorry, can I just I haven't done a sound check. This is terrible. I'm sorry, viewer. Okay. You might just want to like go on. I'm not apologizing to you, Jesse. I'm apologizing to the viewer. So can you just count to 10 for me, please, in that awesome accent?
Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
All right. I'm going to go again.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Is this some kind of trick, Phil?
No.
Okay.
Well, you can't count to 10 if I caught you
twice
out.
in a row.
Right. Well, this is now officially awkward.
Right.
And you've still got your eyelash issue.
I do. I sure do. I don't think it's going anywhere, so we're here to stay.
All right. So suddenly, like, there's tears streaming out of your left eye.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why we know. It's like not suddenly, emotional or whatever. All right.
Although that could happen. I'm a very emotional person, so.
That's okay. Wear it on the sleeve. By the way, I need to get something branded with the loneliness guy.
You should, yeah.
Yeah. Look at that. What is it?
The universe.
The universe is ours.
Yes.
Nice. I'm feeling very like underdone.
No, you're definitely not. I promise.
Yeah. Thank you. You've redeemed yourself after the counting issue.
Right.
All right. Okay, let's just crack into it. And between you, me, and the viewer, I always feel a little weird getting things started. So, all right, focusing now so I can get this party started. All right. Hey, welcome to Connection Over Coffee with me, Phil McAuliffe, the Loneliness Guy. Today we're having a chat with my friend Jesse Elkins from Full Sun Fitness in Charlotte, North Carolina. Say hi, Jesse.
Hi, everyone.
This podcast is all about destigmatizing loneliness and promoting authentic connection for gay men globally. It contains content relating to the mental, emotional, and physical well-being of gay men. If that's going to offend you or anyone in earshot, now's the time for you to move on. So, Jesse, how about you and the viewer and listener go and get us a table, and I'll go get us a coffee each.
You got it.
All right. And then I edit this bit out and put the sound of the coffee being made. And yeah, all right. Here you go. Before I launch into our conversation with Jesse on comparisons, I want to just say thank you for joining us for this conversation, particularly if you are a first-time listener. And I realize that no one comes and searches social media for loneliness-related information unless you really do feel lonely and are beginning to accept that you might be a gay man who is experiencing the perfectly natural human emotion of loneliness. If this is you, I want to say I'm so proud of you for taking that step and for pressing play on this episode or on any of the other 13 episodes now of Connection Over Coffee with the Loneliness Guy. It's a huge step because I know I'm really well familiar with the wrestling, the emotional and mental wrestling that simply pressing play can mean for you. I'm proud of you and I'm so happy that you're here joining Jesse and I for this chat. Before we launch into this chat, I need to do like the stereotypical what everyone does. But if you do get value, if you do enjoy this chat, please like, comment, share it with your friends. And if you've got a question, if you've got any feedback for me about how I could improve it, if you've got a question for Jesse, please feel free to send me an email the old-fashioned way, connect@thelonelinessguy.com, or just do things the modern way and put a comment on Instagram, send me a DM, a Facebook message, Facebook comment. I don't know, whatever the cool kids do. I'm just not on TikTok or anything like that. I'm a middle-aged man. TikTok has passed me by. I don't know about you, Jesse. Has TikTok passed you by?
It sure has. Not our 12-year-old daughter, but it's passed me by, yes.
Right. Good. Let's not talk about TikTok. I just don't have any rhythm, and I don't feel like I'm witty, sufficiently witty in I get like nervous for those 15-second soundbite things. I just can't do it.
I feel you. I'm an anxious wreck all the time, so nerves are familiar.
So, Jesse, besides being an anxious wreck all the time, tell us about you and what you do at Full Sun Fitness, because it's pretty awesome. No spoilers.
Phil, I think there's so many ways to introduce oneself, and this is like adding to the anxiety, but I'm gonna give it my best go. I am a queer, anti-diet, pro-joy personal trainer, and founder and owner of Full Sun Fitness and Nutrition. We mainly serve queer and ally communities. I mean, all are welcome, but queerness is our focus. And that's it. That's me. That's what we do.
Right. For someone who's like, oh, I'm a little anxious about this, like you just nailed it. Like bloody hell. And that almost went like a TikTok 15 seconds.
So maybe we should both get on TikTok together.
Yeah, I think it's probably a good discipline for me.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, like to embrace brevity with my verbosity. But yeah, I love it. I love it. And listener, viewer, if you don't already follow Jesse and his work at Full Sun Fitness and Nutrition on Instagram, there is going to be a link in the episode description. And if you've come here from Instagram anyway, you will see, like, I've tagged him. I'll be, every post talking about this episode and his awesome blog post, which he wrote, which I'll get to in just a minute, will take you to, we'll tag him and we'll take you straight to his site. I love it. The time difference here in New Zealand compared to Charlotte means that it seems as though Jesse's content is the first in my feed when I'm emerging from my sleep, and it always just makes me smile. It always makes me smile. If anything, for seeing the routines that he does, like the workout routines, and just going, oh my God, I don't know if I can do that. That seems like it's so intense. So I shoot him a message and going, you're crazy, but just the right amount of crazy. And you just, help me get my feet out of bed and go and work out. I love it. Because you're real. You're real, and are like living what you said you do. Like, you're committed to joy.
I am, yeah. I think you have to be committed to what you preach. You have to practice what you preach. It's a saying for a reason.
Yeah, right. Jesse, having you, the reason that I asked you to have a chat with us today and come and have a coffee or refreshing tea with us today is that a few weeks ago you posted on Instagram some content relating to comparisons. And it was very serendipitous, and we could say that was the universe, speaking or whatever. That I happened to see what you posted at the same time that I was also had written on my spreadsheet for future content, like comparison, the thief of joy ? Because
I did not know that part of this.
Yeah, I'm very deep. And what. So I was like, okay, like my thoughts were turning to it. I'm like, you've just said what I wanted to say in your awesome accent. And so I'm like, all right, this is too good to be true. Let's investigate this further. And so I reached out to you, and then we had a bit of a chat, and I asked you to write the blog post, which has been published on the Loneliness Guy. So listener, viewer, if you haven't read it yet, after this, go and read it, because there is a link to the episode in the link to the blog post in the episode description. But besides wanting, like, having me craving tomatoes, homegrown tomatoes, how are we, is comparison the thief of joy?
I think for every single human being, it has been or still is the thief of joy. Not that there aren't, hundreds of other things that can dim your light and take your joy. But comparison is a pretty dirty girl. Comparison's pretty rough. Will definitely come in and steal your joy. Yeah.
That's right there. That's probably a great quote. Comparison is a pretty dirty girl, and will come and steal your joy. Because I'm just thinking, as unglamorous as it might be, trying to, put it into like our collective minds. You know, when we are like, when we're lonely, whether we know it or not, whenever we sort of are feeling in need of authentic human connection, and you know, we feel that need, and obviously in today's day and age, we can fill that need by reaching for our phones. We can, you know, fill that need reaching for a device and idly scrolling social media. And I don't know about you, but for me, like across the three accounts that I have for my work, two loneliness related, so for the Lonely Diplomat and the Loneliness Guy, and my own private locked down stuff, there's content on there that, you know, I'm not going to sort of sugarcoat it, but I'm like, he's hot. That's you know, like the content is pretty great, but you know, the way it's delivered and presentationally delivered, it's you know, it gets these gay eyes to stop scrolling and look. And one thing that I can, you know, as a gay man who experiences loneliness and knows why I experience loneliness, I do at times. Well, not at times. I'm like the world champion comparison person. And when we're lonely, gay, straight, male, female, whatever, when we're lonely, we turn our minds and our souls are master storytellers. And we ascribe we project so many thoughts and feelings onto the motivations, the actions of others, be that on social media, be that in real life, it's the same. And when we then get to having a, you know, when we're idly scrolling social media because we feel like we need some connection, we are masterfully telling ourselves stories about, like, ascribing, like, based on our own experience of the world at that moment. We're seeing images of men, women, people living their best lives and going, oh, fuck them. Like, who do they think we like? Anyway, like, what does that do for us, do you think?
I think it takes our joy, and I think it can take us to a dark place where excuse me, these stories that we're telling ourselves, like you said, they're from our own experience, but we're coming up with these stories about these people based off of a very tiny glimpse of what we see of these people. So I think that we only have probably not even an authentic or realistic version of the story, but a very small part of it to go from. And I think these stories that we tell ourselves drive us to a place of being stuck in where we are, because we're leaving our present and we're projecting our stories on their stories that we're creating. So it just takes us down. It takes us backwards. It takes us to a darker spot.
What perhaps is most evil, and I chose my words very carefully there, because it's sinister, it's evil, particularly on social media, and kind of want to have the equivalent of a swear jar every time I say social media, but it's like almost the best example that I feel that you, me, the listener, and the viewer can all relate to if we're on social media. But in many instances, that's selling something. Like, it's like the image is selling something that you will then buy. and either that's like monetary,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm thinking the like influencers who are casually drinking some kind of coconut water or something like that, and they're strategically placed and things, but also the people wanting to like sell an image of themselves, and for you to then casually or mindlessly buy it.
Right.
And I've been really wrestling with that, within myself and the content, frankly, like the content I produce,
Mm-hmm.
on loneliness, across like the Loneliness Guy and the Lonely Diplomat, where it's, I'm incredibly mindful of, the mindset of my audience coming to it, and how do we sell our our services, our products, to get people to consume the content.
I think I would love to challenge that and say that when I post, at least, and what I imagine for a lot of other people, um, when you post, you're kind of protecting how you want the world to see you and shaping this image, whether it be because you have a past and you're trying to change yourself, or just present your finest image of yourself. I think you want people to see these glimpses that you carefully choose to share. I don't know that it's deceitful, and I don't know that it's about actually selling anything.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah. You've just completely flipped my perception there, or not flipped, but had me looking at it from another way.
Right.
I wonder, like, at the without doubt, record capturing a point in time image, and yeah, like, I don't know, where we see, and then again, essentially putting myself back into my mind when I'm feeling and experiencing loneliness, and can see that, there are people who, I know in real life who are, going to parties or going on holidays, or otherwise living their best life. But I think it's really important, because I remind myself that we end up, like, we know that not everything is great in their lives, but no one really takes a photo and posts on social media like themselves surrounded by chips on the couch, binge watching something, on streaming content or something like that.
Unless you have a great sense of humor.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. And then we kind of get into authenticity, and projecting authenticity as relatability, but then that also sort of can tip over into authenticity, like projecting authenticity, like, and then at what point does authenticity become contrived and then inauthentic?
I'm curious, what was your last social media post that was not the Loneliness Guy related, that was on your personal account?
I think it was images of, hold on, let me check.
Okay.
I know that there was something on there like from Taco Tuesday last week.
Yeah, I think I know the answer to this, but I'm excited to go through this with you.
Okay, suddenly I'm nervous. But here we go. Where is it? What did I post? Oh, a photo from Back Day the other day.
Oh, okay. So was it of you at the gym?
Yeah.
So in posting this photo, maybe you can go back to what you were thinking when you posted it and revisit why you posted it. Like, what about Back Day did you want to share with the internet.
Yeah. So I don't know if
Yes, it's a great post.
The viewer on there. Yeah. Well, I'm going to be, well, I don't think, if I'm going to be talking about authentic connection and have that as one of the absolute cornerstone values of my work, I'm going to be nothing but honest.
Right.
I still, in my mind, am the skinny 14-year-old kid. Like all arms, all legs, like spaghetti arms, spaghetti legs. And, I can't actually see my back.
Mm-hmm.
Like no matter how good we are, like, we can't see our back.
You don't have
and
yeah.
No, so, like, I don't know. And, I've been working hard at the gym to, as I do, like, I love it. I love that physical outlet. My work is mentally and emotionally draining at times. So it's important to balance that with something that's physical.
Mm-hmm.
But that post, being honest, was posting for myself. And so for me to go, wow, like I actually have muscles in my back.
Mm-hmm.
That I can see working, that I can see developing, that I can see, just doing what back muscles are meant to be doing.
Right.
But that was a post for me in my mind as a skinny, runty, like unathletic 14-year-old kid.
So the fact that you shared this kind of journey, this experience, this moment on social media doesn't necessarily, I don't think, mean that you're selling anything to anyone or trying to prove anything, but maybe you're bookmarking something big for you, something that tells you that you aren't who you used to have this image of in your head.
Mm-hmm. I think you're right. And, being completely honest, being me, it's like, also, you kind of want people to go, oh, wow, that's looking pretty good.
Validation.
I mean, that's the validation.
Good, yeah.
Yeah.
It feels so good.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, in episode 13 of Connection Over Coffee, we were talking with Michael Diorio up in Toronto. And we were talking about like that moment when you're on Grindr or you're in the gym or otherwise part like in the supermarket or something, and there's another guy and you're making eyes and he goes, looking good, how about it? Kind of raise the eyebrows, let's go. Is that connection or is that validation? And yeah, because they get to the lonely mind,
right?
The attention, the attention feels good. And so yeah, oh, wow.
Right. And I feel like even, I mean, you separated connection and validation, but even those moments like when you're eye fucking the hot guy in the store, that brief glimpse of validation could also be connection. I mean, you've connected with another stranger, another human, and that can carry you long distances, I think.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point. And, those moments of connection that we have in our day, I like that, can carry us great distances for that day. That's, someone's noticed that I sounds a lot of hyperbole, but someone's noticed that I exist.
Right.
Yeah. So when it comes to that and comparison, when, we might be feeling, isolated, lonely, in need of someone to notice that we're there, and we see, we see the images, we see like the TV shows, we see, the images on social media, we, listen to, I don't know, watch stuff on YouTube, whatever it is. And we start to tell our minds there. What is it about comparison what do we need to know about comparison, the comparisons that we're potentially unaware that we're doing?
So in my article or in the blog post that people can go over and check out, we break comparison down into the positive comparison, the negative comparison, and this massive space between this gray area of comparison that we use daily in our lives. But the first type, the kind that you're talking about right off the bat, the kind of watching a TV show or going on social media when you're feeling lonely, or just in general out of habit, the negative comparison comes from seeing someone who has achieved something or who has something that we don't have, or that we don't yet have, or that we haven't yet achieved. And either unfollowing them or creating this negative thought pocket about that person because you're so attached to what they have and what you don't have, that you either keep following them and it's incredibly toxic, or you block them or unfollow them or leave their story, leave their journey. And you miss the whole point that we're all completely different people with completely different resources and different stories. And that you're doing no good by pulling out all these negative parts of yourself because you see what someone else has. I think that's our default. I think that's what most of us do subconsciously too. I mean, Phil, just before we logged in, I was on Instagram, and there's this beautiful man out of Sydney, actually, who just like does everything so wonderfully with his training business. And I get this negative feeling because I want to have that audience and I want to spread my impact like he has. Yep. And I had to check myself and say, that's his story and this is mine. And I'm about to get on a podcast with a beautiful human across the world and push my vision forward.
Yep. Yeah. That's a stunning example there, Jesse, about, well, first, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
It's a stunning example of the negative comparison, but also a glimpse to the positive comparison.
Right.
And it is, though, I think, in your industry, which, uses bodies and good-looking bodies as means of promotion.
Right.
I think it can be particularly, and I think, you, me, the listener and viewer can really all relate to that, particularly as being gay. And, it is like, part of the attraction is, seeing a healthy human,
right.
seeing, a healthy, man who, takes care of himself. Like, there's a whole lot of stuff there that is very attractive.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, where we, do get into, particularly in the fitness industry, fitness/wellness as well, like, promoting the wellness is, can be a very, negative spiral.
It can be, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So in sort of unpicking your share there,
mm-hmm.
I want to, that you also, as fit as you are, as see the testimonials on your social media that you share, that, you are really, really making a difference in individuals' lives.
Thank you. And that's the goal. That's, I think, what a lot of people in the fitness industry miss, is focusing on the image as opposed to what we're talking about here, which is building joy.
Yeah. And without sort of, without wanting to detract from the topic at hand, that's the thing that I love most about you and your work, is that you are absolutely committed, and this comes so like shining through. And it's very good that you've called yourself and your business Full Sun Fitness, because it comes shining through like the commitment to the individual.
Thank you.
And where they are, both physically, mentally, and emotionally, where they are.
Right.
And helping them to take steps physically, mentally, and emotionally forward. It's a beautiful, like, joyful thing to have in my feed.
Thank you.
And no, you're welcome. And it is, it's seeing real people achieve something that they may have thought unachievable for themselves, with help, with support, with guidance, with encouragement, with perhaps, a little bit of like, incentive, like pointed incentive, do this or else, perhaps whatever it is that helps get people to dispel the thoughts and stories that they've been telling themselves.
Right.
It's a beautiful thing to see people achieve.
And Phil, can we bridge this into that next part of comparison, that gray area?
Yeah.
Because
because I wanted to get into like that negative bit that you were saying there. But if we can go into the gray bit if you've got a point.
No, you stay on track, and then I will come right back to it.
All right. That point that you said, looking at that that personal trainer or the fitness guy on in Sydney on Instagram, and that story that you were telling yourself there was the hint of the good part of comparison.
Mm-hmm.
What was that for you?
For me, that was coming away from my default, my subconscious, my go-to thinking, my patterns when I see someone who has something that I don't. And that looks like pulling back into my present moment and what I have going on in front of me. And today, luckily, that was meeting with you and spending time with you. So reshaping how I relate to this person by coming back into my present. And then that gives me space to appreciate the resources that this person offers, and to give them kind of this energetic kudos for doing what they've done. It's incredible.
Yeah. That's so powerful. That's so powerful. And I know in the blog post you talk about the good. Mm-hmm. And what did it take for you? Because it's lovely to say, and it's lovely to hear. Mm-hmm. That I just needed to come back into my present. What did it take for you to come into your present?
In this particular case?
Yeah.
I think I have been becoming more aware of how I relate to things, and what I'm thinking about and how I'm feeling. And I was on the couch and I felt like total shit, and I didn't want to feel like shit anymore. So I flipped it. I had to flip it. It goes back to moving your body and doing yoga and mobility and fitness, all of that. You have to kind of you have to wake back up and feel yourself, feel your body, feel your mind, and get rid of the baggage, which is feeling like shit because of what someone else has achieved.
Yeah.
So I wanted to feel better. That's how I got out of it. But if I'm being honest, I think I've slowly over the years been realizing this more and more. And it when you were talking about my post a few weeks ago, um, it was one of those glorious shower thoughts. You know how the best thoughts come in the shower?
No, I so need waterproof stuff in there because you can't write on the shower screen because it just sort of fogs over.
Right. That'll be your
Yeah.
care package contents when I can mail overseas again. Um, but I was thinking, I was looking at the drain, rinsing out my conditioner in the shower, and I thought, I don't think, because maybe I heard, comparison as the thief of joy that day.
Mm.
And I was like, no, fuck that. Like, it can't be my thief of joy. Like, I won't let that happen. You know?
Mm.
I'm not going to buy
Mm.
into it.
Love it. In the work that I do with Mike Campbell, coaching guys, there's a whole part of that about power and the concept. And when I did this back in 2016, early 2017, this deeply resonated with me. And he has this whole sort of setup thing, but about giving away our power. And Mark Manson, in The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, talks about this concept and, don't give a fuck to everything, but give a fuck to the things that really matter to you.
Right.
And that's the concept of handing over power. If you're giving it a fuck to everything that crosses your gaze in a day, and, particularly, politically, economically, socially, there's an awful lot of content out there in, our world that we can consume that is designed to get a response from us, make us take a step to support, not support, whatever it is. And it takes great courage, great strength to keep the powder of our fucks dry for the things that really matter to us. Because if you're giving a fuck away to everything, you've got nothing left to the stuff that really matters to you.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So what if everything matters to you? You know what I mean? What if everything fucking matters to you? Then how do you combat that? How do you combat power to, you know what I mean?
Well, there's a difference. There's a difference, and I love this linguistically. Like me and words are good. Like we're buddies, we're friends. Like your fucks are precious. Your shits, like you can give a shit. That's they're less precious than a fuck.
Right, I hear you. Okay.
But then you can give a damn.
Okay.
Like you can give a damn about so many things. Then you can give a shit about it. To a deeper level, but your fucks are precious.
Truth. I like that a lot.
Yeah, right. And viewer, listener, before we press record, Jesse's like, "Can we swear?" and I said to him, "Well, yes, but is this by I think you said, can we curse?" And he's like, and I said, but is this like curse in the American way where gosh darn it is like a swear word? Or is this like, just full out like Australian? And Jesse, you've lived in Australia for a couple of years. Yeah. You just like, no, I'm down with it. I really meant it. And here we are talking about damn shits and fucks.
And giving all the fucks or none of the fucks.
Or none of the fucks are precious.
They are. They truly are. And I'm glad you picked those apart too, because language is important, and you hold, the idea that it holds different weight is true.
Yeah. By all means, you're allowed to give a damn. You're allowed, give a damn, because that tells you, like, a damn points to a shit, points to a fuck.
Funny, yes.
All right. But if you're giving the equal amount of everything, If you're giving you're just gonna your fucks are gonna be so depleted.
You're gonna be tired. Your cup is.
There's gonna be nothing left for you, or nothing left for the thing that is really important.
Right.
For who and what is really important. So you're allowed to care. You're allowed to give a damn. You're allowed to give a shit. But the fucks are precious.
Right.
And take a long time. Dams, what you care about, and giving a damn, they're plentiful and easily replenished.
Mm-hmm.
But as you sort of go down the hierarchy of concern, by the time you get to a fuck, they're precious and not necessarily non-renewable, but it takes an awful lot of energy to renew yourself physically, mentally, and emotionally for the fuck.
I think we can call that the fuck budget. You have a fuck budget that you and you have a finite amount daily, and that's it.
Right. Love it. The fuck budget. That's the promo, by the way.
Love
so
it.
What's in your fuck budget today? Right. And I remember, and Mike, if you listen to this, I'm sorry for stealing your thunder, but there's a whole part in there of being Oprah. And just giving away, you get a car, you in the back, you get a car kind of thing. You can't be like Oprah and go, you get a fuck, everyone here gets a fuck, yay. No, that is precious.
Truth.
So precious that you need to keep that fuck powder dry. You need to keep the fuck budget in surplus.
I love it. We hit gold.
Oh, that's genius. Absolute genius, Jesse. So, into the gray area. So you had that in your share. You talked about why him, why not me? Negative spiral.
Mm-hmm.
Arrest that spiral. Arrest that descent into a bad mood. No, I get to choose what how I interpret this. Good on him. Yay me. That elicited a response that inspired me. What's the gray area?
So, Phil, I have a lot of questions for you here. So I'm going to put you on the spot to kind of showcase the gray area in life.
I'm all about the gray.
Great.
I just wear it on my face.
You got it all over the beard. You're going to nail these questions authentically, I hope.
Gray connotes wisdom, apparently. Let's see if that's true.
Let's see. All right, you ready?
Yep. No, yes.
Okay, well, okay. So the gray area is kind of that thing, that land that we live in when we're not totally negative, we're not totally positive.
Right.
And in my eyes, after my recent shower thoughts, the gray area is our best, plural, of all the things we do in life. It's the bar that we set to reach for and to try to achieve. And it's our favorite of every category of our lives. So in the article I talk about, what is your best movie and why is it your best movie? I talk about what is your best meal, what's your best food and why? And then I also talk about sex. What is your best sex and why is it your best? And then I challenge you, the viewer, the reader, our coffee date here, to think about whether or not your best is your best or if it's the best for you because someone else said it's the best. Does that make sense? Because society says it's the best. Yeah. So what you mentioned earlier about images and chiseled bodies and physique focus in the fitness industry, people look for that because that's their best default. People want a trainer who is chiseled and who is fit and who can help them achieve these physique goals. But often what I've found in Full Sun Fitness is that when you ask clients their goals, of course, it's fat loss and it's, physique building, but then we dig deeper and I ask why.
Mm,
And it's often that surface level because I saw it on the cover of a magazine, or
yeah,
because society says that this body is perfect.
yeah.
So this whole comparison land, this gray area, um, it's muddy and it's confusing because how do we know if our best is our best, truly, authentically, like you speak on a lot, or if it's what we've been flooded with, what everyone tells us
Mm,
is the best? So, Phil, what is your favorite movie? What is your best movie, and why
yeah.
is it your best movie?
All right. It's hard to go past The Hunt for Red October.
I haven't seen it.
Uh, really? Oh,
No.
right. Well, yeah, I laugh because it's probably like, I don't know, the the nerdiest answer I could give, but it's true.
Mhm.
I remember watching this when I was about 13,
So it's an
and
older movie. What year is it?
so it's based in the 80s. It's based on a Tom Clancy book.
Okay.
Um,
That wasn't an age comment, by the way. But
it's all right. I didn't hear you because I'm hard of hearing at my age now. And no, and it is so yeah, based on a book from like the early 80s that Tom Clancy wrote, but it turned into a movie in about 1989, 1990. It's got Sean Connery in it. It's got Alec Baldwin, a very young Alec
yeah.
Baldwin, and basically like I, at university, did international relations and politics and international relations. And this is like Cold War, you know, bad guys Soviets, good guys Americans, you know, NATO, Warsaw Pact. It was kind of like my first introduction to that.
Okay.
And yeah, it was for a kid in a very small country town, from a very small country town in rural New South Wales, who was going to boarding school. And, you know, it was like, it promised the world beyond my little corner of the world. That there was mystery, that there was intrigue, that was, you know,
Yeah.
other people who spoke different languages. And yeah, anyway, it's like still a comfort movie for me now. I haven't seen it for a while, but
It's
yeah,
fascinating. Yeah.
yeah, it's speaks to so much of my interests geopolitically.
Right. And so clearly this movie is your favorite for many reasons that
Yeah, it's many
actually
layers. Yes.
matter to you.
Yeah.
And it's not because, you know, it won every award during award season, or because your neighbors like it or your best friends like it or your partner loves it.
Yeah.
It's your best movie. And
Yeah.
that's the division between what people say is the best versus what is your best.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how you muddy up or clear up the muddy waters. But I want to move on and then go into meal. What's your favorite food?
Yeah.
Your favorite meal?
I love spaghetti bolognese.
That's so Aussie of you. I feel
I
like
know.
that's a common Aussie.
Don't look now, but I'm pretty Australian. I've got like a passport on it that says so. But so I hear your comment on that's so Australian, and I'm going to Australian you up a level.
Please do.
And it's spag bog. So others call it spag bol, BOL,
Uh-huh.
and I'm like, yeah, okay, no. Like it's spag bog in my family, and I make a
Bog?
mean bog, BOG.
That's you know what? That's like
Yeah,
diarrhea here.
yeah, I know.
Really?
It's
Oh,
like,
okay. Wow.
welcome to my sense of humor.
I love it. I want to go make it
And
right now.
I tell you, I could share a recipe with you, the listener and the viewer, but my recipe, although I did teach it to Jeff a while, but you know, I kind of feel like a bit of regret. I'm like, no, I want people to remember me after I'm gone for my awesome bog sauce. And it's never the same twice. Like, I can't say, chuck in this amount of oregano or this amount of thyme or that amount of rosemary or whatever. It's like whatever's in the cupboard and then just chuck it in.
Yeah, it's about the love you put into it.
Exactly. And people bond over that food. So, my former wife and I, like it'd be cooking for a few hours, like stewing for a few hours on the stove. And, you go and like take the lid off, stir it up a bit, put the lid back on, let it sort of do its thing. And then a nice bottle of hearty Australian red on a cold night. And and like whenever I do it, like, now with Jeff, like still the same thing, like you bond over those, over the sauce and the pasta, and like, it's simple and like it speaks to me, like
that makes
simple,
sense. Yeah.
Robust, like, and yeah, right there, hands down, my bog sauce is what I love to cook.
Bog sauce. You learn something new every day. Wow.
Yeah. So you're not, spag bol.
You're not going to secretly send me your recipe?
Well, yeah, although it is, I've tried to make it at my brother's place in the US a few times, and it never, I don't know, there's something about the beef. Like, you have to have ground Australian beef.
Interesting.
So, but also, I don't know what it is, but sometimes, like, it just never turns out the same way in the US.
This is so funny. So you went in on your favorite movie and you went in on your favorite food. And clearly you've been living this path of authenticity, which is beautiful to watch and witness. But in the article I referenced, kind of a lot of people say my favorite meal is this low calorie, easy to make, crowd pleaser, because someone flailed it on the internet as this, diet centric recipe, and then it becomes someone's favorite, as opposed to the reality of the situation where someone's favorite food might be a popsicle or ice cream or waffle.
They're all good too in my book.
All good.
Yeah, can't go past a pancake or a waffle pancake.
Oh, never.
More maple syrup than what Canada and New Hampshire could possibly make in a year.
Right.
That's
So there's another space. I think you can kind of see the theme here, that everything in life can be gray. Like, is it our favorite? Is it our best? Or is it what someone else has told us is the best? And then the final one for you, what is your best sex? What makes your best sex?
This is something that Michael and I spoke about in the last episode as well. Like, I said that I don't do casual sex. So I need to feel connection before I have sex.
Mm-hmm.
And so the best sex for me is when I feel like really in that moment connected. And so, I don't want it doesn't have to be candles or like rose petals on the bed and, a 5-star hotel in Koh Samui. Or whatever. It's like, it's absolute.
Mm-hmm.
Feel the connection, like mind, body, soul. That for me is the best connection. It's not like, being a trapeze artist or like a yoga god and putting myself or bending ourselves into all sorts of none of, like, I don't want to say none of that shit. Like, if you can do it, go crazy.
You're like, sprinkle it in something.
Like, but yeah, like for me, it is all about the connection.
Great. I
And
didn't
being
mention,
seen, being heard.
yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And that's part of what you do for work too. I mean, with the loneliness guy is giving people visibility and listening and hearing. So it makes sense to weave that into everything.
Yeah.
I didn't mention this in my intro, but I also work full time in HIV research. So I see and work with every type of person that you can imagine. Pretty much anyone who has ever been sexually active in my region is a potential client. So
Yeah.
a lot of times people will talk about what their sex looks like and what their favorite type of sex is. And I hear so much discrimination around orgies and barebacking and kind of these taboo scenarios too, and things you see in porn. And this is kind of why I pulled in these examples, because I feel like a lot of people limit themselves because society says like that's too kinky, or that isn't safe sex, or that's too many partners.
Yep.
And I think that people really limit themselves with sex and with a lot of other things in life because they're afraid that what they want doesn't match up with what society says.
Mm-hmm. Such a good point. And we can feel wrong.
Yeah, and shameful and
Yeah.
guilty and all those toxic
Yeah.
feelings that take your joy away.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think almost every almost every gay man can relate to that when it comes to their sexuality. When, told that, potentially told, as a young person growing up that, that's wrong.
Right.
That's wrong. So even by virtue of admitting our own sexuality is different to the norm in inverted commas.
Right.
That gives a very poignant example. But
Great example. Yeah.
yeah, when I hear that, when I hear, about that gray area, that, and for me, and listener, viewer, set down the coffee that you've been drinking and go and grab a pen and paper. Because for me, when I hear someone in response to a question about like, why is that? Like, how have you been? Why, like, the kind of daily interactions. When someone says, I should or I shouldn't do this, or I should do that, or I should read this, or I should read that, like whatever it is, almost like a reflex, like a doctor tapping your knee, and your leg involuntarily jerks. My response is, who says?
Exactly.
Because when someone says the word should, I'm going to leave aside the verb to try, right? But if I'm, mean the words are great, should is my least favorite modal verb, right? And modal verbs require another verb to mean anything.
Right.
So they're pretty weak on their own. But the modal verb to should, as opposed to could, as opposed to would, as opposed to will, or, and then the negative equivalents of each of those. But should drips, absolutely drips in stinking cesspool-y like judgment.
Yes.
And it's like the express question into why.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who says, let's get to the bottom of that story that you were telling yourself. Who says,
more with this, yeah.
yeah, who says that the sex that you enjoy is wrong? Who says that, that food you enjoy eating is wrong? bad for you, whatever. Who says that that movie is like a movie that only geopolitical nerds who grew up in the late Cold War, Cold War era, really, love? Who says that that's a movie for nerds?
Right. Can you guess the should that I hear the most in the fitness space?
Shouldn't eat that.
Or I should exercise today.
Yeah.
Man. Every
If you had
time.
$1, right?
Yeah, right.
We wouldn't have this conversation. We'd be having it in Hawaii, probably.
Right. Yes. Which could happen soon, hopefully.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah. But I hear it all the time, and I hear myself saying it to my partner because something in my head tells me if I say I should out loud, that this pressure will push me to do it. When in fact, if I wake up and say, ooh, this would be fun, like to try this new movement or try this new food or protein shake or whatever, then I'm going to do it because I want to do it.
Yeah.
Not because I should, because who the fuck says what I should do?
Yeah. Obligation is rarely sexy.
Correct.
And I remember talking to a clinical psychologist on my other podcast, on the Lonely Diplomat podcast, around midlife crises last year. And he had this fantastic expression that psychologists, I don't know if it's a New Zealand thing or if this is like what they talk about at psychologist conferences globally. But two words came to mind that I always now think of, thanks to Dougal, and that's, are you shoulding? And then the other one is masturbating. So, if you find yourself shoulding, I should do this, I should do that, I shouldn't do this, I shouldn't do that, I shouldn't, whatever, you get my point. And then must as well as another modal verb. Are you masturbating? Again, I must do this. Who says?
Right.
I mustn't enjoy sex with another man. Who says? And then, it gets into belief systems. It gets into like things that we have just passively accepted, messages from parents, messages from teachers, community, like from society in general, the vibe of the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we get to question all of those. Because, it's to do with our life, and should and must are fantastic little windows. Absolutely. Into those stories. So, and I often think of, I don't know, like, in an office situation and there's morning tea. What do you call morning tea in offices in the US? Seems like a very like British kind of thing. Yeah.
We don't like anything.
Like a coffee break in the morning, perhaps. Yeah. I don't know. But, so it's someone's birthday or, people bring in food to share. And, everyone sort of stops work for about half an hour and has a bit of a chat and bonds and stuff. And generally, sometimes it's, depending on where you work, like it's an opportunity for the bakers to showcase their awesomeness. And, I just whipped up this like, multi-leveled sponge cake that's like got fireworks in it and things like that overnight. Oh, it's nothing kind of thing. And then like, you've got like this baked good arms race going on for forevermore. But almost without exception, there's someone in the group who is like, you know what, I'm on a diet. I shouldn't eat this chocolate-laden caramel, whatever it is, calorie bomb, but, I shouldn't, and then reaches in and has one. And then has two, has three. Oh, I shouldn't. I'm like, okay, then don't. Or stop eat it. Yeah. It's like that saying you should or shouldn't, it doesn't absolve you of the fact that you're doing it.
Well, maybe that goes back to validation, like we talked about. Like, so? I shouldn't have that lemon bar. Well, tell me that I'm fine to have it because I look amazing today. It's like fishing.
Have I been failing like basic human interaction all these years?
No, I think you've been conquering it and not giving into it.
Oh, okay. Oh, good. Good. I was like, oh, I've been missing that, like completely missing that cue.
Right, kind
Because for me, like chips, potato chips,
of.
like, oh, like give me one. Yeah, I have one. I have a million. I
Right.
cannot possibly stop that eating, and it comes down to like, oh, I get an attack of the shoulds. I shouldn't do this.
Right. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a tricky one. And I love that. I think maybe we have a new name for the gray zone, and it should involve the word should, like the should shits or
Yeah.
the should zone. Yeah.
Shouldn't zone. Yeah. Love it. Love it. Jesse,
Hmm.
two final questions for you, because we do need to wrap this up and get on with our days.
Yeah.
I know, right? This has been an awesome chat, and I'm like, I'm very reluctant to wrap this up. What's your number one advice to the gay man who might not even yet know that they're involved in like doing comparisons, like it's subconscious comparisons? How like what's the advice to bring those thoughts and feelings
Hmm.
to the forefront so we can make a conscious decision to turn the bad response into the good response, or move things, recognize the gray zone.
Right. My allergies are setting in, so the eye thing is back. I'm just streaming already. I'm not crying, I promise. I might.
It's okay though, like if you get emotional.
Yeah, I might do. Um, my advice to anyone who does notice or doesn't notice is to realize that anytime you feel awful when you see someone else's experience or achievement, that it's an opportunity for connection and community, which is the whole centerpiece of this blog post and this podcast right here. Um,
Mm.
by that, I mean, when you feel awful, when you see someone else's journey and you don't have that, but you want it, instead of unfollowing or putting them in this toxic thought pocket in your head, um, take the opportunity to reach out to them and see how they did it, see how they achieved it, or see if you can ask questions about how they made it to where they are. Um, and if they're receptive, then great. And if not, move on and find someone who will accept that embrace and your connection.
Love that.
I mean,
That's
you do it all the time. I've seen you build a beautiful community of, coaches and gay folks and people on Instagram where you could have easily seen this guy Michael is doing this great coaching work. Oh, it makes me feel like shit because he's so successful and he's doing such a great job. So I'm going to shy away and I'm going to get stuck in my own head, or I'm going to reach out and build a network and build community and build love and trust and all these things that we think we don't have the resources to find, but it's right there in front of us.
mm, mm. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for recognizing. Honestly, I needed a reminder of that today.
And you're doing a
Thank you.
damn good job of this community connection. Um, because
Thank you.
you're not seeing the negativity of other people's journeys. You're seeing the potential and what could come from connecting and supporting one another.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And
Thank
there you
you. I'm
go.
gonna.
Positive
Yeah.
comparison.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'm just gonna let those fuzzies settle in a moment, and feel those fuzzies very consciously. Moving to the last question though.
Mm-hmm.
Where can we find you? And sorry, two parts to the last question.
Mm-hmm.
Where can we find you?
On my website, fullsunfitness.com, or on Instagram, fullsunfitness.
Excellent. And viewer, you can see this on YouTube, but listener, you can't see it. But on Full Sun Fitness, you can buy merchandise. And yeah, Jesse is modeling it right now. So the universe is ours. Is that like called a raglan top or something like that?
Nailed it. Yep.
I don't know. Did I? Okay, good. And I feel that Jeff would be really annoyed if I got a fashion term wrong. He's a designer and clothes maker. The other thing is, what is next in your quest for global domination?
So you mentioned the merch online, but yeah. I would love to point people to our donate page. We have a funding pool set up for trans and or people of color to train for free. Equity is sexy and equity is important. And right now, equity doesn't fucking exist, especially in healthcare spaces. So it is my duty as the founder of Full Sun Fitness, especially a queer space and a safe space, to make sure that trans and BIPOC folks have access to our services. So if you do find our website and you feel like donating, which would be gorgeous, please do.
Love it so much, because yeah, it speaks volumes of who you are, Jesse. In that, no one teach one, collaboration, all the good things about, living life expansively.
Thank you.
In absolute, oh God, what's the word? But like, in the giving mindset.
And it's also, our duty to create equitable spaces, and that's not being done enough. So I'm here to do it.
Love it. I love having you in my corner. I love having you just being here in my life. It is absolutely a joy and like an honor and a privilege to have you here.
I'm so happy to be here too.
Thank you. And I know that the listener, the viewer, will be wanting me to shut up, and so they can go and check your website out, fullsunfitness.com, link in the episode description. And if you can spare a few dollars, a few pounds, a few euro, a few shekels, a few dirhams, whatever it is, to such a worthy and noble cause, I know that Jesse will make it go a long way, because, equity is sexy.
Mm-hmm.
Letting that sink in a moment. Jesse Elkins, thank you so much for joining me, the viewer and the listener, on Connecting Over Coffee with the Loneliness Guy today.
Thank you, Phil, and thank you everyone for listening. Reach out anytime. We're both here for you and with you.
We are you? Love it. All right. Thanks so much, Jesse. There we go.
Should I stop?
Thank you so much to you, viewer, you're there, not there, for joining us on this episode of Connecting Over Coffee. Wasn't he awesome? And yeah, damn you for asking me those questions. Excellent. Okay, viewer, I'm going to stop recording now, but I'll see you next time. Thank you, Jesse. There we go.
Good.
Spectacular. Oops, it's still recording.
Should I?
Oh, you're recording.
Should I stop my recording?
Yeah, you can stop.